Si usted fuera un profesor y tendría que darle una calificación a la democracia en América Latina, ¿qué calificación merece?
Democracy is something that requires ongoing maintenance and investment in institutions, in processes, and in values. I think with Latin America, one of the concerns that exists now is a risk of democratic rollback, which we've seen in some countries, and some citizen disillusionment or dissatisfaction with democracy because maybe it's not delivering with what people want in terms of economic prosperity, in terms of freedom, association, and assembly. Um, Perhaps people don't always like the choices they have in electoral exercises. And so I think something that we need to be concerned about is a risk of democratic rollback in Latin America, which of course is important to an organization like IRI, which is headquartered in Washington, D.C., because we all live in the Western Hemisphere. All countries face democratic challenges
Okay.
that, again, constantly need to be worked on. I will say, though, that countries that are repressive, that do not adhere to fundamental freedoms,
Mm.
that respect human dignity, that respect human rights, it's fairly clear what those countries are globally.
¿Cómo podemos navegar esto?
IRI is committed to a democratic Nicaragua, IRI and many other organizations. And we also know that the Nicaraguan people's commitment to live in a system that is free and where leaders are accountable is very strong. So while the situation there is difficult, we aren't discouraged in the sense of we know what Nicaraguans ultimately aspire to, that they don't seek to live under a system of repression and predatory rule.
Mm.
And I would encourage people to, one, not lose the fight, not give up in their democratic aspirations, and two, know that others are going to be there working with you to achieve those goals because there's not a good alternative, is there?
¿Cómo podemos darle esperanza a las personas que viven adentro de Nicaragua asfixiadas que no hay libertad?
Yeah. So I think for people inside the country, and Nicaragua is not alone in this, incidentally, there are other countries in Latin America where similar challenges exist. But for people that are inside the country, simply surviving day to day may be a challenge. And that's something that we need to understand and appreciate. I think for those committed to activism around uh, democracy in Nicaragua, that's sort of a fundamental thing to understand at the outset. But the way to help is to ensure that people that are in the diaspora, people that
La diáspora.
have expressed commitment to democratic change in the country, are empowered to continue to one engage people inside the country and to work with them in a way that gives them a sense of a future that is possible. Okay.
Are you concerned about influences of like big countries like China and Russia in the region?
Absolutely. We know for a fact that authoritarian actors are exporting authoritarianism in the region. And they're often doing so by dangling in front of governments which lack accountability to their citizens, promises,
Mm.
economic investment, actual cash. And so people in the region need to be vigilant to that. Deals that are being struck need to be scrutinized with transparency, just as democratic countries that operate in a transparent fashion are subject to that public scrutiny. Otherwise, there's a real risk that the influence of authoritarianism will advance in Latin America to the detriment of human freedom.